Hey guys, LevelCap here, and this week in gaming was our first look at the next generation of gaming hardware. New details have emerged from Black Ops Cold War gameplay leaks, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds Mobile was banned in India, and more. With new consoles on the horizon, the PC versus console war is getting pretty spicy. Gamers on both sides have many questions about the capabilities of the next-gen hardware being released by NVIDIA, AMD, Sony, and Microsoft. This week, NVIDIA made a bold statement revealing their RTX 3000 GPUs and advertising some astonishing numbers. First up, the RTX 3070 is a $500 powerhouse that outperforms the current top-of-the-line RTX 2080 Ti. The RTX 3080 pushes the performance gap 180% further for $700, and finally, the RTX 3900 at $1,500 is almost twice as fast as a Titan RTX. And while the only third-party source corroborating NVIDIA's performance claims is a NVIDIA-sponsored video by Digital Foundry, it's clear that there's at least some merit to this. Digital Foundry's video shows the 3080 trouncing a 2080 by nearly 200% in specific scenarios. NVIDIA themselves have released a gameplay video of Doom Eternal running well over 120 FPS at 4K max settings on a 3080 compared to a 2080 Ti that barely manages 100 FPS in ideal scenes. If these performance gains turn out to be valid in the real world, we're looking at an overall doubling of performance per dollar from current gen to next gen hardware. It's been over 5 years, if not longer, since we've seen that kind of leap in performance from a GPU. Recently, AMD have been making strides with their Ryzen and Threadripper CPUs. They're based on new architecture and have kept Intel in check, if not outright stomped on them. Unfortunately, AMD haven't kept up at the same pace with their GPUs. The last 2 generations of video cards have disappointed compared to NVIDIA's, and they lack some of the more high-end features that NVIDIA offers, like ray tracing. That said, AMD are dropping new GPUs soon, rumored to at least match NVIDIA's next-gen performance. And while Sony and Microsoft are boasting 4K 60 FPS and higher performance targets for their next-gen consoles, it looks like PC gamers will be well ahead of the console performance curve. The big question mark that remains now is how much the next-gen consoles will actually cost. They'd certainly be a bargain at $500 or $600 compared to spending $500 or $700 just for a new GPU, let alone a whole PC. But for people with fairly modern PCs, upgrading the GPU seems like a pretty viable option to get something incredible in performance. A YouTuber made the unfortunate mistake of live streaming himself playing Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War yesterday, and since then his footage has gone far and wide across the internet. Since the initial broadcast, COD fans have picked the footage apart, revealing key details about the upcoming game. And before I continue, this should all be taken with a salt shaker in hand. The information is based on a limited alpha build of the game and pulled from snippets of a random person's gameplay. Everything is subject to change. Getting into it, there's a new VIP escort mode that works like search and destroy, but you can revive down teammates. Enemies have health bars above their heads on the UI. There doesn't appear to be any interactable doors. Tactical sprint has been removed, and mounting is also absent. The Create a Class Pick 10 system has been reworked, so you only get 1 wildcard slot, but there's a wildcard that lets you take 6 perks. One of those perks is Quartermaster, which allows you to take 2 primary weapons. So far, 2 factions have been confirmed, the CIA and the DGI, or Intelligence Directorate of Cuba. Considering the map shown in the leaked footage is Miami, it's a fitting choice of factions. The final noteworthy detail is the return of score streaks. These are non-lethal rewards that don't reset on death and reward objective play as well as kills. As for how all of this stuff ties into Warzone, there's not much to go on as of yet. Cold War obviously makes some significant departures from Modern Warfare, but Warzone will inherit Cold War's content. One thing we do know is that the nuke Easter egg on the current version of the Warzone map is going to involve a launch of some kind. Call of Duty partners have been sent key cards with nuke launch codes printed on them, which will likely tie into an in-game event of some kind. The official multiplayer reveal for Black Ops Cold War goes live on the 9th. The government of India has banned PUBG Mobile and over 100 other apps due to their Chinese influence. India was one of the first countries to ban TikTok, an app that has both exploded in popularity and been revealed as Chinese spyware in recent months. PUBG Mobile was India's top mobile app with 40 million active users from the country alone. Other high-profile apps that have been banned in India include WeChat, Alibaba, Taobao, and several other NetEase games. Doom 1 and 2 finally have official widescreen support nearly 30 years after launch. id Software have updated the classic games with a bunch of new features. The update adds the official releases to Steam. Previously, they were exclusive to the Bethesda launcher. It adds proper 16:9 widescreen support for de-hacked patches, split-screen deathmatch, an optional crosshair, gyro aim support, an FPS limiter, a new difficulty level, and a ton of fixes. The update is also available on iOS. The retro indie FPS ULTRAKILL has officially made its debut on Steam. The game is available as an early access title and currently includes the game's first 3 planned chapters. It's the latest offering from New Blood Interactive and continues their dominance of the retro FPS resurgence that kicked off with Dusk in 2018. ULTRAKILL is a fast-paced shooter that borrows much of its DNA from the original Doom games but throws in some crazy mobility and weapon mechanics for a more modern touch. Riot Games have disabled Valorant's Omen character after accidentally making him invincible. A recent update broke his teleportability, which allowed him to bypass the buy-phase walls, kill enemy players, and take no damage. And despite Riot's high-profile push to get Valorant a proper esports scene, it's been fraught with balance issues and bugs. As close as a week before the game officially left beta, players were still discovering out-of-map exploits and game-breaking balance problems. Since then, Riot have done a reasonably good job of patching things up, but clearly they still have a lot of work left to do. Omen was still disabled at the time of writing this script, but there's a good chance that he's already back online. In other esports news, the CSGO community was shaken by a massive cheating scandal. An exploit that allowed coaches a 360-degree view of the map was recently discovered and fixed by Valve, but it was apparently exploited in the game for at least 18 months. So far, 3 coaches have been banned from the official tournaments for taking advantage of the exploit. Their teams have been disqualified from future tournaments and had their prize pool revoked. This is possibly one of the biggest, most widespread cheating scandals ever in CSGO history, and it's not just a handful of teams or players that have abused this bug for matches. There could have been dozens, if not hundreds of games where this exploit's impact made an actual difference. When it comes to cheaters, Team Fortress 2 players have taken matters into their own hands. The game's been somewhat ignored by Valve in recent years, leading to an epidemic of cheaters on both official and community servers. To combat these cheaters, community mod makers have developed bots that run on servers and only target cheaters. Cheaters can currently join servers using their bots that do all sorts of stuff like farming for items, griefing, and killing legitimate players. The community anti-cheat bots will target them, killing them as fast as possible to discourage their use. However, the fact that admins have to take such drastic measures means that it's probably time for Valve to actually step in. In our final story this week, the system requirements for Crysis Remastered on PC have been released. They're incredibly modest, even by current-gen hardware standards. On PC, Xbox One X, and the PlayStation 4 Pro, the remaster will offer a slew of visual and performance improvements, but one of the most significant additions is ray tracing. It uses Crytek's in-house software ray tracing solution to replicate the look of NVIDIA's hardware-accelerated RTX ray tracing. The fact that it can run on current-gen hardware at a decent frame rate is pretty incredible. I can only imagine how much better it's going to run on the next-gen hardware. And that wraps it up for this week in gaming. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the news throughout the week. Let me know what stories you thought were the most interesting in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap signing off.